it wasn't until AD came on that we really kind of started to form like a closer and closer bond, and the podcast started to get better and everything. And then even beyond that, like he brought T-Rel around.
Right.
House Phone brought Duno around. But like, you know, there was quite a few different people that AD brought around. So I'm not trying to like take away from that at all, because he definitely, like, seeing the way that the fans took to him kind of made me realize that the channel had more opportunities available to it than I previously thought. Because up until AD came on the channel, the vast majority, like 95% of the views that we were getting on the channel were from stuff that was basically just me on camera.
Right. You interviewing people.
Me going and doing a vlog. I was just like kind of always the face of it. Now there were like some vlogs that we did where we like sent people out, and like, you know, vlogs that would do well, because it's like if you put Trippie Redd or Lil Xan or whoever in the thumbnail, you know, it's going to do good regardless of me being there, which is dope. But AD definitely like made me realize like, oh shit, I can actually bring people onto this channel who aren't me, who aren't like me, you know, in significant ways. Like he's fucking from Compton, and he's got this gangbanging past, and he's, you know, a rapper, all these things that are like not like me. But it made me realize like, oh, we can bring people in and actually get the fan base to appreciate them. And so now like something like me bringing Court on, that like in 2020 would have been really hard for me to imagine, because I knew him back then, 2019, whatever. Like he was coming around the store, whatever, but I didn't know that I could like, maybe I just didn't have the confidence, or I kind of felt like everybody that I brought on had to be able to do exactly what I do. You know, like anybody I would bring on would have to be an interviewer. That they would have to be like really, really, really good at having the long form interviews. And then AD comes around and he's making it clear, like, I don't want to do interviews. Like, I'm just going to chill. Like, I'm going to have conversations on camera and stuff, but I don't want to be the interviewer, which I think is actually really good that he like kind of knew that about himself early on, you know? But yeah, AD definitely like kicked in the door massively. So I got to acknowledge that 100%. But then I think that when things started to change a little bit was because I encouraged AD to start his own stream, like in the beginning, because it had been suggested, and I kind of told him like, you could be like academics. You don't have to be as messy as academics, but you could sit on stream, put your fucking head in the corner, play video games, talk about whatever's going on in your life, etc. And you know, he did it, and it ended up being really successful, like way more successful than anybody else had ever been from No Jumper in terms of like creating their own content.
I mean, yeah, they just sold out the El Rey twice, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I feel like what that kind of did was, it was dope because I have to wear two different hats in having this conversation. As a business owner and as a friend to AD and T-Rel, I have to look at that shit and just be like, bravo, you guys did exactly what I would fucking want you to do in that situation if I was coaching you, which is you get an opportunity from No Jumper, you get in there, do what you can, build up as much of a fan base as possible, but then also be building your own shit on the side. And because this was so new to us, we hadn't even got into the conversation of like, okay, maybe our contract should say this. Maybe our contract should, you know, make it so that they can't do extremely similar content on their own channel, which is kind of what it's turned into, where like a lot of times the stuff that happens on No Jumper
spills over to community,
and it will get like more views from them reacting to it or talking about it rather than it has for us, you know? So that was something that I didn't anticipate, or that I couldn't have really expected for that people. And, you know, so now we have kind of like different types of contracts where it's like, if somebody's going to come on and be a part of No Jumper, it's like, I want you to create your own content and everything. But in terms of stuff that is like directly the same as No Jumper, or, you know, not to say this shit is exactly the same, but it's clearly like filling the same itch that we're trying to satisfy on here, we need to have some kind of control about how we deal with people. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day who used to be a teacher, and I kind of filled them in on a lot of the details about this. And they said this to me. They said, listen, like when I go into a school, I can't start out as the cool teacher. I have to go in and be a strict ass teacher. And then when it comes down to it, if I want to fucking say a swear word, or if I want to let them eat pizza in class or some shit, if I want to be a cool teacher, I have to like interject that after I've already set the baseline as being me being a very strict teacher. Now, I don't like mean to go too hard with the direct teacher metaphor here or whatever, but I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this, is that I didn't set down any boundaries in the beginning. It was just like, here's a table, here's these cameras, here's these 4 million subscribers, do whatever the fuck you guys want. And to be fair, like in terms of it just being like kind of shocking and entertaining and crazy, I mean, that's definitely been what we got out of it, you know?
Right.
But also, it's like, having seen how this played out, I'm very confident that I would rather have a tight-knit, small crew of people making content together rather than having a big fucking crew where everybody's kind of doing their own thing and creating their own conversations that ultimately kind of poison the waters here.
Got you. So, okay, so initially you had kind of encouraged AD to do a stream, right?
Totally, yeah.
But you didn't have any sort of idea how big Cuhmunity could get.
No.
So it gets really big. But isn't that what you would want it? Wouldn't you want, like, if you're encouraging him to do it, wouldn't you want his shit to blow up?
No, totally, yeah. Like, I'm happy for him, and he knows that. Like, I've always, like, I even, you know, in recent times, like, I've given him advice. I just got him a fucking Snapchat show and shit like that.
Right.
Like, I've looked out for him. So the whole, like, idea that I'm, like, hating on what they've accomplished is not true at all. The reality is, anytime anybody said to me, like, you should be stopping what they're doing on Cuhmunity or back on Fig. No, I've never felt like that. You could go watch the conversation I had with T-Rail about back on Fig. I'm proud of them and I'm happy for them, but also it's like I can't really let people do that again in the future, you know? But I have to respect them doing it because my contract that I had them sign in the first place did not prohibit them from doing it. So I can only respect it. I can't say like, this is fucked up that you guys did this and created your own platforms when I never had anything and I never said anything to them. I didn't have anything in writing and I didn't say anything to them to prohibit them from doing that. I gotta respect it, you know? So it's like, if we fast forward 3, 4, 5 years and it's like, look at how Back on Fig and Cuhmunity are just as big or bigger than No Jumper. It's like, I'm not gonna be mad about that. I'm proud of them. Like, and I'm proud of the fact that they were able to do that coming up from No Jumper. It's just that in the future, if I take people on and make them hosts on this channel, I've realized that the part where they create their own platform doing interviews or streams or whatever should probably be something that they then start building after they leave. And I've also just realized I have conversations with people from Barstool and I realized like, oh shit, they are under a very short leash.
Yeah,
in terms
they're
of
under
like,
that. Yeah, but you hear about like some of the like intellectual property like contracts in the podcast world and all that shit. Like for you though, like anybody who's coming on board now, right? If they want to do their own stream, it has to be under the umbrella of No Jumper.
I mean, I wouldn't say exclusively because like, okay, I do the Sledge Lords things with Danny Mullen.
Right.
He has his own weekly vlog that he does and he has his own podcast that he does.
Right.
But it's also like he doesn't talk about anything on the podcast that
It's
has
also
anything
not
to
like
do with No Jumper.
Right.
You know, so it's like he's got his own crew. Like he has his own little mini No Jumper with a bunch of weird white people, right? Like it's very it's like its own separate universe.
So we're like the Cuhmunity and Back on Fig, a lot of the content is kind of spiraling off of what happens in this building.
I mean,
to be fair,
yesterday's Back on Fig title yesterday was Lush got fired live on stream.
Right.
So it's not like anyone's trying to hide the fact that this has basically become like No Jumper meta commentary. And it's not like it's always that, because I'm sure that if they had something else to talk about that was just as interesting, that they would have taken that and made that the title.
So let me ask you this, because a guy like Milk74 or random YouTube channel A, B, or C is going to do the same shit, right?
Word.
They're going to benefit off of the drama here, right? Wouldn't you rather AD and T-Rail benefit off of it? At the very least, they're kind of giving like more of a biased in your favor perspective. I mean, maybe sometimes not, right?
Sometimes it seems biased in my
because
favor.
like at the end of the day, isn't there going to already be people reacting and getting tons of fucking views off of the drama that happens on camera here?
And I'm totally aware of that, because obviously, like, if AD and T-Rail had nothing to do with No Jumper tomorrow, it's not like that's going to stop them from having a conversation about the next crazy thing that Flacco does on stream or whatever.
Facts. Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I've already accepted that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it does feel like there are narratives that get pushed on some of the other platforms that when I look at it, I'm like, okay, so I introduced you guys to the streaming thing. I am paying you. And then still, I basically end up just as fodder for conversation here on stream.
The thing is, though, the people who are in the building, they always going to catch more eyes because you want it from damn near the horse's
For sure, because
mouth.
you're getting it from the source. 100%.
Milk only knows what's on the cameras.
Right.
That's how that's going to go.
No, I get it.